In my last video, I went carp fishing, so I'm gonna make another carp-based video. And this video is going to be about making homemade boilies, which is another type of carp bait. It's real easy to make, real cheap to make. Well, it can be as cheap as you want it to be or as expensive as you want it to be. But the style of homemade boilie that I make is real cheap to make. So I'm gonna go through it, the ingredients. First you're gonna need is flour, okay? Now you can use flour, you can use cornmeal, you can use crushed up bread, but you need some type of grain, powdered, milled grain. So I'm gonna be using flour. Next you're gonna need a type of flavor. Now you can use pretty much anything under the sun for carp in terms of flavor. What I like to use is almond extract. I also use vanilla, I use peanut butter. Sometimes I go into the fishy flavors, clams, sardines, etc. You're going to be needing oil. Any type of oil works. Sometimes I use coconut oil to add a little bit more scent and flavor. You're going to need sugar. And you're going to need eggs. Now, I'm going to make this recipe is going to be 2 cups of the grain, so the flour. So for every cup of grain that you use, so if you use cornmeal or if you use etc. And I haven't used cornmeal. I've heard of people using cornmeal, but me personally, I have not. You're going to need, for every cup, you're going to need 1 egg. Unless, of course, you use bread, which you're going to just need for 2. You can use 1 egg or peanut butter. With the peanut butter, you don't need oil because peanut butter is very oily. So that's all that you need to make boilies. You also want to need a pot so you can boil water, aka boilies. That's it though, and a rack to dry. So let's get into it. All right, so we got our ingredients. So I always start with just a 2-cup recipe. So I use 2 cups of flour, and the measuring cup in here is 1/3. So I'm going to use 6 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, you're going to use, this is 1/4, so you're going to use I normally use 1/4, but you don't need to use that much, but that's how much I usually use. 1/4. Okay, now what you're going to do is mix these together, and hold on real quick. Just mix the flour and sugar together. Now you're going to need another bowl, and what you're going to do is you're going to mix the almond extract or whatever your flavor is, if it's in a liquid form, with the oil. If it's not in a liquid form, okay, you're going to use just 2 tablespoons of oil. Okay, 2 tablespoons of oil, and with the almond, you're going to use 1 teaspoon. Now you're going to do this twice. So this is the oil and flavor that's going to go in the mix, okay? And then you're going to make a separate, and that second one is optional, but what I like to do is make a second one and pour it in the bag once the boilies are done. So you're going to use a teaspoon of, if it's a liquid, extract. whisk those together because oil and that don't mix, even though it's the extract, that is a alcohol-based extract, so it mixes together a little bit easier. And you can really smell that almond. You don't need much of it, but good gracious, it smells like Kool-Aid. All right, so I'm gonna put you down right here. And what you're gonna do next is you're gonna take your 2 eggs, pour it in there, and then you're gonna pour in your oil. Okay. Now, not sticky at all. That's what you want. That kind of consistency. Alright. And this can get messy. But that's how easy that was. Let me get a cutting board. Alright. So we got a cutting board. Very little flour. There we go. Tap it more. All right, so once you have that done, which is easy enough, you're just gonna want to take out pieces and roll it. Now for me, I use a milling baller so that my boilies are all the same size. And this is just what I use. So once you have your dough, you make them into boilies, okay, which are these right here. And they're not perfect shape. You can get boilie makers that make these bad boys look straight up commercial, manufactured, pristine. But for me, it doesn't matter. So once you have your boilies, you need to boil water. Now the water is going to cook the boilies, but it's not going to cook the boilies like the oven cooks the boilies, okay? It's going to allow the boilies to stay firm and moist. They're going to be moist. That's the reason you add the oil, and I add so much oil, is because some of that's going to be lost in the boiling process. Like I said, you can put these in the microwave. When you boil them, they're going to sink, okay, when you put them in the water. If you use the microwave, they're going to float, most of them. It's not going to be 100% all of them are going to float. Most of them are going to float, and they're going to float. They're not going to stay floating boilies forever. You pretty much put them in the microwave, and you got a day or two where the ones that float, all of them are still going to be floating. So you're going to boil them, as I'm going to show you. Then you're going to let them cool, and you need to let them dry completely. So you need to have someplace to put them where you can get air on the top and bottom of the boilies so that they can dry completely. Once that happens, they're done. You have your bake. All right, so once your water is boiling, we're back. Once you get your water boiling, one thing you're gonna do is put the boilies in there. And you're just gonna let them cook until they start to pop up. Once they start floating, they're done. Sometimes I give them a little bit extra. These are pretty big ones, so I'm probably gonna give them maybe a minute after they pop up. But once they start boiling, once they start popping up to the surface and floating, they're done. And that's all it takes to make boilies. That's it. Boiling water, regular stuff that you have in your house. You even can use vanilla extract. I've used that. I haven't had that much success with it, but I've used vanilla extract, and I have quite a bit of success with just plain old, basically bread balls. So the same thing, but don't add the extract or your flavoring. Add some sugar for a little bit of flavor, and then that's it. That's simple. I've had quite a bit of success on that. I've had more success on the almond extract for whatever reason, but that's it. You have bait. It's already pre-prepared the day before. You can make as much as you want, then freeze it, and then use it however long you want to use it. And this is what you're left with. Your boilies.